Steam locomotives were some of the most powerful machines ever built. They pulled trains that fueled our imagination. They represented vision, collaboration, ingenuity, customer service, and extraordinary human achievement. But in order to get to their destination, it took someone guiding them through a series of switches in order to get to the main line. Just like leaders today, it takes someone directing them down the right path in order to get to their destination. Welcome to Mainline Executive Coaching ACT, which stands for and Cultural Transformation, hosted by Master Certified Intelligent Leadership Executive Coaches Maikel Bailey and Rich Barron, with over 50 years of successful cultural transformation and quantum leadership development between them. Brought to you by Intelligent Leadership Executive Coaching, the world's foremost authority on cultural transformation and intelligent leadership development. Once again, thanks for joining us and enjoy today's show.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight. This is going to be a great podcast that we have for you. This is Mainline Executive Coaching ACT. ACT. It is acting, taking action, and with leadership, it is also about and cultural transformation. ACT. We are mainline leaders. This is who we are. This is what we do, and this is what we're here to help you with as you look at your organization, as you look at your leadership potential and learning and figuring out and wanting and how do I actually develop it? How do I take it forward? I'm Maikel Bailey. I'm here with my partner, Rich Barron. We've got a great topic today. It's going to be talking about these assessments that we offer organizations. So let's start here. Rich, tell us about this first one that we think and believe is so important that they take before they even look at taking an actual cultural assessment.
Well, I want to start by saying this is something we feel truly passionate about the importance of these assessments. They are diagnostic tools and designed to really show where your strengths are and to address your gaps. But you have to be ready for the results and ready to do these surveys and ready to take action. Now, there's a couple of these we do, Maikel. The first one's called the Cultural Transformation Readiness Assessment. This is designed for the senior leadership of the organization to really determine their willingness to make the necessary changes, to go forward with these assessments and do whatever it is necessary to make the correct changes and to implement those changes. That's the first step. If you're not willing, if you're not prepared to be for the results, because those results may be telling. When we talk about these diagnostic tools are there to address your strengths and show where your gaps are. Show your strengths and address your gaps. Now, some of those gaps may be you. That's senior leadership. And it may be difficult to swallow that, but yet that's what this is for. So the first assessment we do is basically, are you ready? Are you willing? Are you open to whatever the outcome of these assessments are going to be?
Yeah, there's an interesting cutting line in all this, Rich, and that is that idea of readiness and willingness to take a good hard look at this stuff. Because once you start looking and seeing what the gaps are, the strengths also, and the gaps and some things that are derailing you as an organization, then you've got to ask yourself, am I really ready to do this? It's a funny thing because the reaction for a lot of leaders who kind of built these silos, their own kind of little kingdoms within the organization, their issue is going to be, I don't want to. I don't want to go there. I don't want to do that. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to have to deal with that. And that puts you in a very interesting position if you're the CEO and you got an executive team here and you've got one or two of those going, no, I don't want to do that. Everything's fine the way it is. Let's not get into the weeds all about that. It gets too complicated. It gets just too messy. You've got to ask yourself a question. One, what are they resisting? What is it that they don't want to look at? What is it that they don't want to have to go into and do some fixing and taking care of? The other question you got to ask is this: really, is it about whether or not we individually want to? Maybe a better question is, this is what we must do. And when we start separating the individual agendas of I want to or I don't want to into this is what we must do in order to create the organization and the team and the culture that we really want, that completely changes the discussion. I want to do it, your own private agenda is a totally different world than you thinking of your organization and the people and saying, okay, this is what we must do.
You know, this readiness assessment really is combined or prior to what's called a 3-day cultural transformation boot camp, which really takes place prior to the actual cultural assessment going out to your organization. It's a preparation for what is to follow after you get this back, what our plans are going forward, and preparing that senior executive team. Now, you know, culture is a top-down. It's a top-down function. It comes from the CEO. Now, if the senior leadership are not ready to really address this or to face what could be some perceived, you know, issues in their organization, don't go there. Don't go there. Not yet. I think it takes time to get ready, and that's what this boot camp is for. Let's help you get ready. Let's help you understand why it is we're doing this.
We've got in our city, the city that's close to us, a major building. It's been around for a long time. It's a beautiful, beautiful building. They're now getting it upgraded for any kind of major earthquake that may be going on.
Yes.
And so they've gone in with all sorts of assessments and stresses, looking at the foundation of this huge building, and it's huge. And they're going in and they're doing all this testing all over from all these different angles of this building. That testing, I could take a look at the results of those stress tests that they're doing on the foundation of that building, as well as the building itself. I would have no idea what I was looking for, what it meant, what it was telling me, the dangers that were here, the things that were okay. I have no idea what to do. And so you were talking about earlier, you know, we may have somebody in HR do one of these cultural assessments, or somebody else do one of these cultural assessments. But when it really gets down to it, they may not really know how to read it, how to really interpret what that stress test or that cultural assessment is saying about the organization. That's one thing. The second thing is this: once they get it, they may not actually know what to do with it.
Oh, actually, absolutely.
So going back to this building that's being assessed and retrofitted and all that kind of stuff, when they look at all that information, they know now specifically what areas in the foundation or what areas in the building they're going to go in and start fixing, going to start building up. They're going to start making the changings of reinforcing. They know what to do. In other words, they not only have done the assessment, they've analyzed the assessment. Now they've come up with a plan of action to take care of those problems. And that plan of action, they go to work to help now fix it. Yeah. Now explain that in terms of how that applies to what it is we do.
This, like I said, this is a diagnostic tool to get the baseline of where your culture is at, and where your leadership abilities are for your senior leadership. Once we get that information back, then it's time to really sit down and start developing your leadership development plans, your cultural development plan for your organization. And you know what that really involves? It's not so much a big group. Now you need to focus on the individuals, and what are your strengths? How do you fit into this whole purpose? And that there brings another thing. Does your company have a purpose? What's your vision statement? What's your mission statement? Are you ready to actually prove to your organization that that's something for real and not just words on a page?
Yeah.
Now, here's a bit of a warning, and I need to And we don't say this lightly. And I'm not going to say this lightly because we're in the process of picking up the pieces and knowing, what happens full well when these assessments are given by an organization. And maybe just someone in HR decided they're going to get this organization, maybe senior HR leadership is going to put this out. Then they're going to take it to the senior leadership and show them, well, we did this assessment. Look what it says. Okay, that's great. Now, here's the thing. If you do not have a plan in place prior or a commitment to vulnerability and being courageous enough to act on what it is that survey tells you, and you ignore the results, or the results are so blatant that some of the gaps are senior leadership in the company, and you don't do anything about that, you have now given your employees a voice, an anonymous voice maybe, but you gave them a voice, and they're going to tell you how they feel. They're going to put in the survey results. They're going to tell you how they feel. Now you've given them a voice, and they got hope because you sent out this assessment. Now they've got hope that you have a plan to help correct the culture in your organization. But when you do nothing or don't have a plan or anybody there to guide you down this path and teach you what to do next, you have now done more damage to your own personal credibility and the credibility of your senior leadership than it ever would have been if you had not sent this assessment out in the first place.
So what's the message that you've done this, they've taken it, they've answered it honestly, they think, and they're doing it hopefully, that you'll listen, that you'll pay attention, as you're saying, they'll now go do something to correct these things that are driving them crazy, that are keeping them from really coming to work, enjoying their job and doing it well. What message does that send to those people who suddenly they feel like, well, maybe there is hope? What are you telling them?
Yes. And if it's ignored, and here's the other part, if you take too long to act on this, it's the same thing as doing nothing. I mean, it's better than nothing. But remember, a lot of, and in this company we're talking about did this assessment, was so unhappy with the results, and they simply didn't believe it. Matter of fact, they were going out and saying on some other surveys, well, this employee, I don't think this employee ever really worked for us because everybody loves us. All our employees love us. And that's a true story.
That's just not possible.
Yeah, that's just not possible. And it was someone in senior leadership that was actually commenting on these surveys saying, no way, this is a plant. This couldn't have happened in my organization. Well, guess what? The base year company is now crumbling, and that's what they found out. They were hemorrhaging employees. They were hemorrhaging money
to millions of dollars a year.
Millions of dollars. And because of this simple thing we're saying, they ignored the results and thought, it's just like one of those sounds in your car. You're driving down the road and you hear this sound in your car and you think, maybe if I ignore it, it'll go away. And pretty soon you see the wheel passing you down the freeway because it just came off, your tires just came off and it just passed you on the road. Well, it's the same thing. Same thing. If you ignored it, it does not go away. It gets worse. It gets worse for you. It gets worse for your organization. 75%. Yes. That's a lot. That's a lot. 75% of companies flat out fail because they do not understand what change leadership is. They do not understand how to really implement an effective culture in their organization and move forward.
So it's that old saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Absolutely.
Is that it? So the reason 75% of culture or attempts at culture transformation or change fail is this: they don't have a plan. They don't have a baseline of taking a look at, number one, how does the executive team feel about this? Are they up for it? Then they don't go in and get that done, and then they don't prepare for it, as you were talking about it. Then when they go and take the assessment, the company-wide, then do they just look at that, or do they take that information down? Do they make a plan to actually go do something based upon expertise of being able to evaluate what that assessment's actually saying?
Yes.
Because without doing that, what's the likelihood? Well, we already know, doggone it, 75% failure. That's what it is, because they don't follow those simple principles.
And there are quite a few companies out there that have these surveys and these assessments that will gladly sell you the link to them. They'll sell you these assessments, and if you want, they'll come and tell you what the results were. But beyond that, you really need a plan beforehand. And I cannot stress enough. I can't stress enough, and I don't think you can. I think you'd agree, Maikel, that if this is not coming from senior leadership and it's someone in HR or someone in another part of the organization that's taken upon themselves that let's just do this assessment, all I got to say is don't go there, really. And it's not just, I'm not trying to say that your actions aren't admirable. What you want to do is not admirable. What I'm saying is it's going to end up in a catastrophe if you don't have senior leadership on board. Remember this, culture is a top-down function. It's not middle management function. It's not middle management doing this assessment and then telling senior leadership, guess what I found? That's not what it is. It really isn't. You have to have people on board ready to address what you find.
That's right.
That's where we come in. That's where we come in, right, Maikel?
It is. It's this notion here. It's a simple principle, folks. If veto, we talked about this a while ago, veto, very important top officer.
Yes.
Who that is in the organization, the very important top officer. If veto doesn't want it, it's not going to happen. It's as simple as that. It's no more complicated than that. But if veto does want it, veto's going to get it. He's going to make sure that happens, or she's going to make that happen. One of the people that we know, he was the veto, very important top officer. He actually came up with his own cultural assessment. He wrote it all up and everything. It's just like, this is amazing, and sent it out to the organization, got the results back. He took that little puppy and he buried it. And to this day, nobody knows what happened to it.
He wadded that up and, made a couple shots into his garbage can and round filed that.
He wanted it until he got it. Then once he got it, I didn't want it.
Yeah. Be careful what you wish for.
That's right. That's right. All righty. So let's wrap this up here.
Okay.
Folks, if this is something you vetoes, you people at that executive level, if you're looking at your organization, you're not seeing it's producing the way it's supposed to produce, or you expect it to produce, you're seeing that your people not engaged as the way you'd really like them. You're not seeing that the team is really working at all levels the way that it really needs to work. And now you are curious. Here's the big thing. If you're really curious and you're willing to be honest with yourself and you're ready to find out what's going on here, contact us. Let's start a conversation about how we can help your organization, starting right at that C level, to figure things out, move it through, and how we can actually make your situation much better for everyone there. So, Rich, let's take this home now.
Okay. Real quick shout out. I got to say, we got some rock stars in Europe that are really focused in on our podcast. And I truly appreciate their support and their response. The other night, after we uploaded our latest podcast onto our site, literally within 5 minutes, we had downloads going across Europe. And all I got to say is thank you so much. That means you're listening to us. Hopefully you like what we have to say, and maybe someday we'll get a meet in person. But once again, thank you so much for your support and believing in our message. And again, everybody, thank you so much. We got more of this coming. Stay tuned, and we'll see you again next time. Have a great evening. Be safe. Take care.
All the best.
With all of the issues facing organizations today, leadership development and cultural transformation are needed more than ever. Go to our website, executiveleadersactilec.com. Book some time with us. Let's sit down and talk and get you on the path to success. This podcast was brought to you by Intelligent Leadership Executive Coaching, ILEC, the world's foremost authority on leadership development and cultural transformation. Once again, for Mainline Executive Coaching ACT, this is Rich Barron and Maikel Bailey. Thank you for joining us, and take care.